All right. So I'm gonna wait here. We put this out kind of late, just to let you know, he emailed it out because we're all getting ready for the convention, as I'm pretty sure you know. Are you going to the convention?
Yeah, I'm not actually going to UAC, but I'm aware that it's coming up very, very quickly.
Yeah. So, I'm not gonna be surprised if we're not gonna have anyone participate too many because most thoughts right now on traveling and getting there, right?
I
Uh,
have not been to Chicago since the American Federation of Astrologers convention back in '82.
well, well, that's some time. Um, but yeah, so yeah, Chicago will be fun, and I'm going, but I have relatives there, so we're doing a twofold thing, getting things done, seeing relatives and going to the convention. Going to be working at the booth a little bit or
That'd be
volunteer at
nice.
the booth, and I have a ticket. I have a full ticket, but I'll see how much I get in. There's just so much to absorb, and do while you're there. Well, let's see. Getting I'm gonna give another minute because this slide shows I'm not gonna try to go over. I did mention to Luke, probably be about an hour and 15 minutes. It's not gonna shouldn't be no longer than that. Unless questions come up and I can answer those.
Okay.
Um, so I'm just gonna think I'm gonna get started because it's 7:04 and sometimes people come in a little bit later, but they can come, get in.
I
So,
was going to say hello to our new participant, but I need her to pronounce her first name.
um,
Hi, it's Sylvia. Just regular Sylvia. I would just spell it
oh,
differently.
Hey,
Sylvia.
Sylvia, that's easy. I can do that.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello,
Okay.
hello.
So, yeah, I'll have to kind of look because I can't. I have in presentation mode. So, hi, Sylvia. I can't see, but I can see when you talk back and forth. I can, obviously see the chat. But we'll get going here. If you have, like I said, well, then we have time for a little bit of questions if we have questions. But we're going through the presentations. It's really going to dive deep into it. So I did give this particular presentation for Fractal Cosmos for Santino, David, Cochran, who's Santino, and Linda Berry in 2025. So I did this introduction. I kind of overdid it a little bit better. When you do something 2 years ago and you look at it again and you go, oh, I can do a little bit better. So I jazzed it up a little bit. So exploring the basics of vibrational chart. And so this is really just only really a practical introduction to the vibrational astrology. And yes, I do have a long name. My maiden name is Paglarini. Got to keep that Italian name. Married to a Heffernan, so Barbie Paglarini Heffernan, and have a diploma at International Academy of Astrology, which is Astro College. And again, here's a little bit about me. It's a picture of me, obviously not on my horse or riding and doing other things I like to do, but it's a nice Photoshop picture. So here, what we have is a little bit about my background. I have 4 years with diploma, as I mentioned, with IAA, graduated there. Then I did mentor with Enid Newberg and Gregory Clare, both of those positions. And during that time of that 4-year diploma, I also did alongside with Linda Berry 2 years of advanced studies in vibrational astrology. And then I also specialize, at the college, and like as I mentioned, with the naval studies and astronomy and vibrational astrology. And then we're always, as astrologers, getting our hands into so many different things. I did take classes and do study along with Judith Hill, and I took her year long with Matthew Woods as an herbalist with medical astrology. And then I'm also a member of the NCGR, and I have an applied science degree at American College of Healthcare Science. And the reason I got into astrology was because American College of Healthcare Sciences. I became a professional iridologist, and I heard about medical astrology. Well, a astrologer, Henry Seltzer, mentioned to me, he said, well, if you want to become an astrologer, you need to take, get a diploma. And so that's how I ended up at International Academy of Astrology. So that's a little bit about my background. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the history of vibrational astrology. I'm going to kind of skim over a little bit. You can read a little bit more on John Addy, and if you all know, I've heard of Santino, who's David Cochran. Have you heard or Linda Berry? Any of those astrologers that do VA? No. But anyhow, those are the main ones out there. There are a couple other ones. I can't name them offhand, but those are the ones that are doing a lot of evidence and research now. But back in 1976, there was John Addy, and he introduced what we call the harmonics, right, of astrology, proposing that the traditional aspects and system represented only part of much larger mathematical structure. And then he did it beyond that. He did a 12-fold system that did that, and he emphasized more on the divisions of this, and such as 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. And then he went along with other harmonics, including the 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So this could just reveal some of the meaningful patterns, and that's what he did with that. And then there's a theory behind the harmonics. His work expanded astrological analysis beyond the familiar aspects by examining the horoscope through different harmonic vibrational cycles. And then there was research, and so the research was developed, and there's empirical investigation continued into the late 20th and into the 21st century, and testing and refining ideas and associated with the harmonic astrology. Then came along David Cochran, right? And David Cochran, known as Santino, he further developed this approach through extensive research and extreme case sampling and investigating the core meaning of the vibrations and planetary combinations. And the vibrations, especially from 1 to 32. So Cochran's research contributed to the development of the interpretations for the first 32 vibrations, while also refining the fundamental functions assigned to the planets. So vibrational astrology today is research continues in higher vibrations, and these vibrations go up high. Planetary circuits and resonance and potential significance in individual lives. And so, as we can see, so it was John Addy, then we came with the harmonics, and we expanded those harmonics and cycles, and then we had the empirical research, and then David Cochran came in and he did those vibrations, and now we have this modern vibrational astrology. So basic astrology. Today we're going to just look at the foundation of astrology. This is just more of a modern evidence-based approach that looks at astrology mathematically and uses harmonics and patterns to reveal the planet's energy and flow. So by the end of this session, you'll just see how simple planetary function combine into circuits and how the research makes these patterns reliable and repeatable. So true VA circuits in the wheel. So you have to, unlike traditional astrology, here you have to have more than, you have to have 3 or more planets to exact harmonic aspect to create an energy flow. And as you can see in this diagram here, you can see the moon, Uranus, and the sun, and Saturn, Pluto, and the moon. And they're making these circuits. So you have to have in VA 3 planets. So we have what we call green circuit here. That's just that green circuit, 60, 60, and 120. And we know that is still considered that trine at 120. So that's still going to be a flow, opportunity, and ease and talent. And then we have what we call red circuits. And there's red circuits, and here we have it with Saturn, Pluto, and the moon. And that's, again, going to be a challenge, right? Because now we have this tension. We have this tension going on, driven in growth. And so when we look at what we'll cover here is more of the principles and the planetary functions, the harmonics and their vibrations. We're going to look at vibrations and meanings 1 to 13. We're not going to go deep into the meanings of 1 to 13, but we're going to go over just the meanings of them. And then there's traditional aspects and VA orbs. And you're going to see that these orbs are not like the orbs that we work with in traditional astrology. Color-coded circuits, and there's research and validation. And then I'm going to give a case study with Julia Roberts' case study. So by the end of this presentation, you'll understand what vibrations are, how circuits work, why harmonics matters, and how VA offers how VA differs, right? It differs from traditional astrology, and how to begin reading a vibrational chart. So the core principles we have planets. They're simple and clear functions, right? And so then we have the patterns, and they're inherent in their nature. And then we have the inner planets where are personal, and then we have our outer planets where have transpersonal force, and then we have complexity, which is combinations. So in VA, each planet has a simple function, like vitality, communication, or structure. There are no just symbols. They reflect patterns inherent in nature. So inner planets feel personal and subjective, and outer planets often operate larger transpersonal forces. And this complexity comes from the way these functions combine patterns. So then we look at aspects, and we look at the aspects are divisions of that 360 circle. And each aspect corresponds to the harmonic vibration. Harmonic charts reveal hidden patterns. And 3 or more planets create a circuit. So you're going to hear me say this over and over again, that you need 3 or more planets to create a circuit. Circuits reveal flow of planetary function. So like in traditional astrology, aspects are measured as a division of 360 circle, whereas in vibrational astrology, each aspect corresponds to harmonic vibration. So harmonic charts reveal patterns that are not what may not be visible in the natal chart. When 3 or more planets connect through harmonic aspects, they create a circuit, and circuits show how planetary functions interact and flow in a meaningful, purposeful way. So here you can see this traditional aspects in the division of the 360. Here's a graph here. And then also you can look here, we can see the conjunction at 360 is the first harmonic. And then the opposition is the 360 at 2 is at 180, the second harmonic. And then we have the trine at 360 at the 3 at the 120 is the trine. And it's the third harmonic. And then the square is the fourth harmonic. And the quintile is the fifth harmonic. Pretty similar to traditional. So we then went vibrational astrology. There's evidence-based method. And so they've done they observe, they test, they confirm, and they repeat. And they checked hundreds and hundreds. I believe there's 932 that Cochrane had done in one of his books that he wrote on bipolar and vibration. So VA uses the same steps as sciences. They collect data from real charts and client experience. They look at patterns in thousands of charts. They verify that patterns repeat consistently across many people, and then they repeat. They continue the cycle to refine and expand the research. So here with vibrational astrology, it follows an evidence-based approach. So we observe the patterns, we test them across many charts, and confirm what repeats the process. So the focus is on measurable behavior rather than speculation, right? So here we're looking more at evidence-based. And statistically, validations help us know which patterns are meaningful and which are not. And the commitment to evidence is what gives vibrational astrology reliability and depth. So again, it's just like any other evidence base. We observe, we test, we confirm, we repeat it, and we get what the results are. So vibrational astrology, like as mentioned, is mathematical and it's evidence-based driven. It's traditional symbols and intuition, and VA function and behavior. And then it has traditional personality. So vibrational astrology is based on exact mathematics, it's research and statistical validation. It is a focus on planetary function and energy flow. It's based on symbols and archetypes, built on traditional and intuition and wisdom, and it focuses more on your personality and life themes. So, if we look at vibrational astrology, we use exact mathematic harmonic patterns and research to understand how many flows and how it influences behavior, whereas traditional astrology, what it provides is just rich symbolic meaning, intuitive insight into personality and purpose in life. So both have value. They just have a simple answer. So what are the planetary glyphs? Well, if you're an astrologer, you're pretty much familiar with these glyphs. Over here, we have the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Very much, same as traditional astrology. And here, when we look at our planets, we give them in vibrational astrology just simplicity words to start off with, as a beginner in vibrational astrology. So when we look at the sun and we see the sun, we just say it's clear and present, or you could say it's daily. So the sun is clear and present. The moon is past to present, it's memories. And Mercury is communication and connections, and Venus is attraction and beauty, and Mars is drive and action, and Jupiter is growth and expansion, and Saturn is core essence and foundation, whereas Uranus is spontaneous and original, and Neptune is ideals, dreams, and visions, and Pluto is obsessive, compulsive, and transformative. It's when in VA you'll see a lot more obsessive and compulsive than transformative. You'll see a lot more of this in VA. And you can see some of the words are very similar to traditional communication for Mercury and connection, Jupiter, growth and expansion. Some of the words, but when you see Saturn here as core essence and foundation, foundation, goes with Saturn. But, Saturn wants to get down to what's going to last, what's going to stay. And then we look at planets in VA are very simple, like this, like I mentioned, the sun is clear and present in reality. So as we mentioned, and this pretty much goes where Pluto operates on obsessive and compulsive levels. And these are more of the building blocks. You can see Mars drives and has action, Jupiter grows and expands. Saturn, right, removes all that is superficial. That's what Saturn does. So it has a little bit a different connotation than you'll see in traditional astrology with the planetary. And the building blocks of VA, again, is the foundation, the function, the flow, and the behavior, and the understanding. So VA planetary descriptions, we went through some of these here. We look at the sun, its focus, we know it's our identity, but it's our core expression, right? And then we look at Mercury, we know that it's more of logic and connection, mental processing. Mars has that drive. But we really don't get into a lot of the courage. And we look at Mars being more drive and action and initiating energy. And then Saturn is more of a structure and foundation and what's going to last and achieve. So as we go along, you'll see, and you can see that the Venus is when you can see Venus does have attraction, but it's more when you begin using the words of the simple words for planet description, you're going to just see more of sun, and you're going to just see more of the core expression. With Venus, you're going to see a lot of attraction to beauty. You're not going to see a lot of values, harmonies, and relationships until you get further on into kind of like compatibility. And basic, just VA, you won't see, you're just going to have simple meanings. Like Jupiter will be just growth, right, and expansion. Uranus would be more spontaneous. Pluto was going to be more of that obsessive and compulsive behavior. And then we have traditional aspects in BA. And so from the angles to the harmonic patterns. So in traditional astrology, you use these aspects to describe relationships between planets, and vibrational astrology takes the next step. We map each aspect to the harmonic frequency, B1 to B13, vibration 1 to vibration 13. These harmonics create reoccurring patterns of energy that influence how many planetary functions combine and operate. So again, you can see over here in this graph, the conjunction, we know that's an angle of 0 with the harmonic of B1. It's unity, it's merging of energies. And opposition is 180, it's a B2, it's polarity, it's balanced through opposite forces. And then we have the trine, which is 120, it's the B3, flow and harmony and natural ease. And the square of 90, which is the B4, which is structure, challenge, growth through tension and action. And the quintile, which is 72, V5, talent, creativity, unique gifts, and creative potential, but you got to get there. So when we look at the vibrational, it takes the next step. We look at the harmonics at 1 to 13. These harmonics create recurring patterns, as I mentioned. So the angles are the structure, the harmonics are the frequency, and the vibrations are the expression. So again, you see these orbs. And this is where you're going to say this is quite different in orbs for guidelines and vibrational astrology. Conjunction, you have a 16 orb for conjunction. So you have that's a wide orb for conjunction. Opposition is 8. A square is 4. Trine is 520, and a sextile is 240. So you can see they tighten up as you get bigger. But the conjunction is a wide one, 16. So we looked at, the conjunction is more that fusion, the opposition is that polarity, and the square is that drive and dynamic, and the trine is that flow, and the sextile is the supportive opportunity. Very similar to traditional astrology when you look at some of the words. But you can see here at the conjunctions and oppositions, we get different orbs. Vibrational astrology uses the same aspects, but the orbs shrink as they get higher. And as you can see, they shrink as they get higher in the harmonics. A conjunction can be wide, but by the sextile, the orb is only about 2.400. The higher the harmonic, the tighter the orb, keeping the focus on the real vibrational pattern. And again, here's just another graph kind of showing you the same, what I just went over. It just stands out a little bit more. So here's an example. The 12th harmonic is 16 divided by 12 is 133, is 1.20. So the key principle, as the harmonic number increases, the allowable orb becomes smaller. And here's how we look at the conjunction opposition in a B16. And why? Because that's what the conjunction is. It's a 16 orb, right? 16. So the opposition in the 16th harmonic. So how they put this together is you take, example here, you can see you take the 0 times 16 is 0, but then you take the 180 times 16 is 2,880. Then you take the 2,880 and divide that by 360, you get 8 cycles. And so it results back to a 0. So even harmonic 0 equals 180 at the conjunction to opposition, the same vibration phase. We have a same vibration phase is what happens. And so this is the same, what we call a same phase in even harmonics. 0, 180 land on the same position. So we multiply that by 16. So we look at conjunctions and oppositions as being the same as a conjunction. So when you look at an opposition, it acts as a conjunction, so fused together. So harmonics and orb rules. So we have conjunctions and oppositions as V16s, and that is an orb is multiplied by the harmonic number. As the natal is, the one natal equals 16, and V16 is too wide, right? So we need to put 0.5, for the best is 0.25. So lower versus higher harmonics. So to 2, 3, 5, 7, and 9 are broader, wider harmonics still resonate. The higher, the 16, 17, and 23 are fine-tuned and only very tight orbs we can use on these. As we get higher, as mentioned, in the orbs, we use tighter, on the harmonics, we use tighter orbs. So the 16th harmonic in the orb is magnified, and a small natal separation quickly becomes the wide. So only very tight orbs have a degree or less resonate. That's why higher harmonics are so precise. And by contrast, the low harmonics are broad and forgiving, and planets can be farther apart. And you'll see this when we go through the example of Julia Roberts. Well, so here we have a higher harmonic, tighter orbs. Again, I'm just going over, you have the higher harmonic orb, and then you have the lower harmonic. And then you have the bottom line is the higher harmonic, the more exact the planet must align. And the higher harmonics are like fine-tuned radio stations. You have to be exactly on the frequency or you'll lose that signal. This is why orbs shrink as harmonics numbers go up. Lower harmonics can handle broader orbs, but in the higher ones, only very precise alignments create resonance. It's sort of like when you're driving and you're trying to tune in and get that radio station or that you're trying to find, and you're fine-tuning that station in. So again, conjunctions, fusions, oppositions, polarities, squares drive, and trines flow, and sextiles supportive. And so VA uses that familiar aspects, right? You're familiar with these if you do regular traditional astrology, conjunctions, oppositions, squares, trines, and sextiles. I don't know why we have that one. It's plain. Here it is. Hanging together right there. High vibrations work musical analogy, and vibrations and music tones, astrology notes combine. They're like chords. So harmonics, resonance patterns. So vibration in VA is like music. Each vibration is note. When notes combine, they form chords, and harmonics reveal resonance and patterns in a chart, like in music, creating harmony. In geometry and frequency, planetary alignments are sacred. Geometric patterns and harmonics show hidden symmetries in the chart. And astrology is a vibrational psychics, and planetary patterns act like measurable frequencies, not just symbols. Now, this is where it gets a little, where you're going to see the difference in traditional versus vibrational astrology. When VA, we call for short vibrational VA. When VA aspects, we use a color-coded system. And that's lines settings. So you can see over here in this graph, we have line settings. So for solid reds, remember that's that conjunction or the opposition. And squares and strong aspects, you'll see in the solid red. So conjunctions, oppositions, squares, so the strong aspects, right? And then we have dash reds. This looks like orange, but this dash red, you see dashes like here, and that's 15, 30, 45, and the 135. And they use a 10 to 20 to 10, 20 for minor aspects, and red may be original version. So you'll see this dash. And then we have the solid greens. You'll see more of the red and the solid greens used in basic VA. And so the solid greens are the trines, the sextiles, and the semi-sextiles. And so like we mentioned, the reds are more that, so we're looking at the conjunction and the opposition where you're going to have that dynamic tension and drive and the motivation and pressure. And then the greens are going to be more that natural flow and the harmonious expression and ease. And then we do have the browns. The browns are your quincunx. It's energies that need to be developed. So the growth describes growth process where planets work to refine energy and traits and strong motivations for missing something feels missing. So browns is like, has it, the quincunx is, did you do this? And when you look at charts of someone who's more mature, they can answer that question. When you're looking at charts that are younger, they may not have made that aspect, that quincunx, that brown line, for that quincunx energy. You just can't, and we'll go over that, and you'll see that in the example. You really, when you come to the brown lines, we really ask the question, is this something you've done or something you can relate to? So, because quincunxes represent energies that need to be developed. So did you develop it yet? They describe growth and process where planets work to refine energies and traits. So then we have vibrations to describe how planets combine. The orbs are very tight in VA, exact and strong. They are higher harmonics and tighter orbs. And vibrational astrology looks at harmonics as hidden layers, as mentioned. Vibrations are described as how planets combine in patterns. And one important difference from traditional astrology is the orbs. VA uses very tight orbs, and the higher the harmonic, the tighter the orb must be. This keeps the result precise and reliable. So here we get into vibrational descriptions from vibration. We're going to go vibration 1 to vibration 13, and just the meanings of these 1 to 13. So 1 is more of an eternal sense of what is essential and potential. The vibration 2 is more of a polarized exchange and something outside of yourself. And free vibration 3 is free, unrestricted, smooth flow of energy. And then vibration 4 is a need to rising from within that shapes what one is driven to do. And vibration 5 is more play. It's an organic exploration, interaction that is nonlinear and outwardly directed. Vibration 6 is a free flow of interaction and energy. Your vibration 7 is quiet, internalizing, deepening one's energy and formulating internal understandings. So it's more inner, right? Here is where we get more inner. And V8 is action, it makes a difference. V9 is a process of integrating and binding with the environment. It's more working with your community in V9. V10 is organic and interaction and exploration that is shared with others. And V11 is restless and dissatisfied and reaching out for something more or different and desires a change. Your vibration 12 seeks more of a balance, the push outward of drive and receptibility, and to allow an easy flow with others. And V13 is going deep within, seeking to uncover one's distinctive essence and make it the new operating center of one's life. So you can see, just learning vibrations 1 to 13, it does take some time to learn these, and then they start doubling after that, and you learn more of the vibrations as you go along. But just getting the basics down. And then we have the inner versus outer planets, very similar to traditional. The inner versus outer planets, we have the inner planets. You can see the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and then obviously we have Earth and Mars and Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus and Neptune. But you can see we have our inner planets, and then we have our outer planets. And when we get these circuits, they mix, and the inner planets and the Sun through Mars describe the personal experience, and then the outer planets, Jupiter through Neptune, represent larger external forces. So when these circuits often mix, these blending the personal with the collective. So that's what happens. You blend the personal with your collective. So harmonic aspects are hidden, as mentioned. We look at the vibration 1 to 4 traditional aspects, and the higher refined, and the harmonics are, like mentioned, they're hidden. And again, the harmonics show more refined and precise behavior. And here on the left side, you can see the graphs. And with vibrational astrology, we use software. And the software is, if you're familiar with Sirius software, it has a program in there for doing vibrational astrology. But there is another one that's out there that is from Nelson that you can get. It's but I believe you can do it more. It's more of an app that goes on your cell phone, and then you can work it with that. And here we have key vibrations. 1 is identity, 2 is polarity, 3 is flow, 4 is drive, 5 is play, and 7 is reflection. So when I say when you look at vibrations, if you can just kind of just get a word for each one, because there's so much to learn, it kind of helps you when you first begin. It's just like when you're learning traditional astrology and you're just putting the pieces, the ABCs together, right? Just to get those essentials before you can build onto the foundation of it and learn to delineate a chart. So it's easier to just put vibrations with 1 word or 2 words to get going. And it's going to be the same with the planets. So each vibration has its own meaning. And then the higher vibrations show increasing precise qualities. And so here again, we get up and we have, we get the 5 as more of a playfulness. Remember, we have that 5 as a playfulness, and V6 or 9 is more cooperation, integration. So where you have that V1, it's more of that essential self. And then, the polarity of the 2, and the 3 is that smooth, and 4 is a motivation, and 5 is more of a playfulness, all right? And 6 and through 9, you need some cooperation, integration. So these patterns are part of life's design. So then there's, again, I'm mentioning over again the 3 planet requirements in the foundation, and we have to have valid combinations. Because you can look at these green lines and red lines, and they may look like you have a 3 planet, but they have to be valid. They have to be within the orb, and they have to connect. So 2 planets are potential. We can't do that. We have to have 3 planets that makes the energy flow, and a circuit makes a real pattern. So with vibrational, we have to improvise on 3 planets always, because they create the circuits, not just possibilities. And we also have to look at the validation of it. So a valid combination. So a red conjunction with a green trine, allowing a bridge. So you can have a red conjunction and then a green trine to allow what we call a bridging. And then we have the red opposition with the green sextile, allowing a bridge. So you can bridge these together and make a combination. And then we have a green circuit, which is like Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune, and then a T-square circuit, which could be Mars, Saturn, and Pluto. So when we look at an invalid combination, it would be a red square with a green trine, but no conjunctions or oppositions. So if you had a red square, but you didn't have any conjunction or oppositions, it's invalid. If you have a red semi-square with a green sextile, there's no valid bridge, including the brown quincunx and circuits. So only 2 planets connecting, insufficient for energy flow. So you can see there are rules for VA, and they're pretty precise. Bridge examples, you can have the sun as a conjunction, Mercury as a trine with Jupiter. So the red conjunction acts as a valid bridge, allowing the green trine to connect. And when you first start with vibrational astrology, you'll get into the bridging, but you work first with just getting to know your greens and your reds and your dashes, just to get the basics of how it flows. And then as you get into a little bit further in VA, you'll learn about the bridging, where you begin with just the red and the green. So the 3 planets requirements, right? We have that potential and it's real energy flow. And you want to make sure that there's a 3rd planet always in 3 planets patterns, they show the actual flow. So we have that bridging rule. And so why this matters, the rule keeps VA clear and accurate. We only interpret true energetic circuits, not symbolic or random links. So we have aspect lines and colors. As we went over these again, the red, the dash, the solid green, and the solid brown. And so again, reading the pattern readings, the 3 planets connect by solid red aspects, and then the 3 planets connect with solid green aspects, and combining only the red conjunctions and oppositions combined with the green. So there's a 16th, the 3/16, the 5/16, and the 7/16 to double the vibration to understand. The quincunx is not included in energy circuits. So the colors, we work with red, green, and brown. And then we have that 3-planet flow. We have the bridging. We have the 16th aspects. And so the key is the planets serve as a pattern and not vice versa. So we have to have a pattern that works. And this is kind of what you'll see, what it looks like, traditional, pretty much, the trine, right? The sextile with the Uranus, you got Moon, Uranus, and the Sun. And so 3 planets are in the aspect to each other. Pluto, Saturn, we have Moon, Saturn, and Pluto, the Sun, Mars, and Pluto. So you have to have these circuits, they need to be 3 or more. There is a real energy flow begins when there's 3 or more. Now, the red aspects, we look at as growth. Red aspects show pressure and drive. They push us forward and create friction and motivate us to act. Without them, there's no momentum for growth. Pretty much traditional astrology, the same as, when we look at a square, that is, we need growth there, what squares that helps you grow. So here we have the aspects of the catalyst in the chart to create challenge. We must meet and lead to action, change, and evolution. Then the green aspects are your natural flow, your definition. Your green aspects represent natural flow. They feel easy, harmonious, like talents that come without effort, very similar to traditional astrology. They show where energy moves smoothly. Examples are going to be the semi-sextile here, balances actions, flow, and grain quality, and the sextile at the 60. So desire to share, ease, flow, and the trine at 120, unrestricted energy flow that's easy and smooth. So then we get to the brown aspects, and those are the quincunx. Well, here it's just a little bit different here than traditional astrology and the quincunx. So the basic and the quincunx is energies that need to be developed here. So the growth needs between 2 planets. Now here we have 2 planets, right? We've been saying we need 3 planets. Now we have 2 planets. So we need 3 planets for energy and flow, but when you have the quincunx, you only have 2 planets. So the energies that need to be developed, that's why it needs to be developed, because you only got 2 planets here. The strong motivation of these energies grow into a useful, mature behavior can eventually develop mastery. So if you work with these, you can develop a mastery with them. So the 12th harmonic aspect belongs to the 12th, the quincunx belongs to the 12th harmonic, symbolize completion, right? Reorientation and integration. It brings sense of adjustment through shifting perspectives, not easy or hard, but a turning point in vibration. So you can lead to new understandings and redirections of energy. So it's good to look at your quincunxes and see how they're working in your life. So the brown aspects of the quincunxes are growth and process and refinement. They represent adjustments and development, pushes traits to evolve. And that's what you want to do. You want to transform your potentials and become a mastery at it. So how to create a vibrational chart. So as I mentioned, there you can begin using regular software, traditional software, but you'll need to get your vibrational software to go further on in your harmonics. So how do you create it? You need to convert your planetary positions to a 360 notation, express all the planets' positions at degrees of 0 to 360. Then you begin by multiplying that division, multiplying that vibration. So you use the vibration number 1 to 13 you're working with. Next, you have to subtract the 360, continue to subtracting the 360 to result less than 360. Then you convert it back to the degree and minute notation, express the final number in degrees and minutes. So you place the planet in chart, plot the resulting position in the chart starting at 0 Aries, and the software automates this process, right? If you have software, it can automate this process, and the most VA software performs these calculations. So like I mentioned, Sirius software has it, and there's another one by Nelson. and I believe Santino, David Cochran, is working on another software with vibrational astrology. So vibrational astrology is used by equal house system. So we do use the equal house system here, which because it aligns directly with the mathematical harmonics. Each house is exactly 30 degrees, making it simple, consistent, precise for measuring vibrational patterns. So here we have Julia Roberts, right? We're familiar with her. She was born October 28, 1967 at 12:16 a.m. in Atlanta, Georgia. We know her as an Oscar-winning actress. You know, she's done some movies. You mainly know one of them is Pretty Woman, and one of the Hollywood highest paid ionic smile and screen presence. So we know a little bit about her vibration chart. She has red circuits, green circuits, and brown circuits. So this is the wheel over here, and you can see we have some red, red circuits, and we can also see that we have some. There's here we have just these. We have some green dashes here. So when I go further here, I have it now into a vibrational wheel. And so her Venus, Pluto, and Uranus is a red circuit. So here, if you look at, here is the Venus, the Pluto, and Uranus, and you can see this 18, 21, and 27. And you can see this, and you'll hear with other vibrational astrologers saying, you know, this is a conjunction, right? We call that conjunction, but it's also called a blob. It's a B-L-O-B, blob. And that's, Londonberry uses that quite often. We have this blob here. I don't know where that came up, if that's something, you know, she made up or whatever, but it's just a conjunction. So when you have Venus at 18, I can say 18 Virgo, but we're not really going to be using the zodiac signs. But I can say it's 18 Virgo 04, and Pluto's, 21 Virgo 57, and Uranus is 27 Virgo. But what you want to get away from is looking at the zodiac signs. You're just going to be looking at the planets. So you're basically going to be looking at just that that the numbers 18, 20, and 27, they make that 16 orbs, so they are in a conjunction. And so when you have Venus conjuncts Pluto at a 3 orb, and Pluto conjuncts Uranus at a 6 orb, and Venus conjuncts Uranus at a 9 orb. So Jupiter, as we know, when we look at, so if we look at here, we remember Venus was more of attraction to beauty, right? And then we got Pluto is obsessive and compulsive, and then we have Venus, which is spontaneous. So we have the spontaneous obsession compulsive of beauty is how that would be read, that conjunction. And so here we have a vibration energy in a green. And so we look at the green, and the Jupiter grows bigger, expands, and Venus attracts with beauty, right? And so when you look at the Jupiter, and then you look at Pluto, and then we have Uranus, it's a spontaneous in the moment and impulsive, and creates a compulsive expansion of beauty and magnetic appeal. So with Julia Roberts, the Venus and Pluto is that red circuit is what we really want to be looking at. So I got it squared here, the red circuit. And the red circuit gives her more of that magnetic beauty, right? The beauty, I talked about beauty, intense compulsive presence. And Venus brings in that attraction and that charm. And then Pluto adds more of that obsessive and compulsive force, which gives that deep reservoir. And Uranus sparks spontaneity and sudden shifts, right? And so the tight conjunction operates automatically, and it's explaining her irrepressible charm and powerful screen appeal. And then we have the Sun, Mercury, and Neptune in a red circuit down here. We have this red circuit down here. And with the Sun, it conjuncts the Mercury at a 9 orb, and the Mercury conjuncts Neptune at a 10 orb, and the Sun conjuncts Neptune at a 19 orb, right? The sun conjunction Neptune at 19. So it's the sun in here. So that's kind of a, I don't know why it says 19, but it says 18, 19. But so here we have the sun at 4, Neptune at 13, and Mercury at 13, Neptune at 23. And in this conjunction, Julia Roberts has more of her, that Sun-Neptune circuit channels her more ideals, right? You can look at Neptune ideals and visions in her daily is the sun communication. And so the sun brings consistent expression, and Mercury connects her ideals, and Neptune infuses her inspiration and ideals. This is more of a tight conjunction, operates automatically, giving her a natural ability to communicate and have this transformative, inspiring message that she can give. And then we have, now we're going to look at these green circuits, and you can see how this goes up and comes back down. So it's connected. So it goes up and comes back down. And so here, this is what I did was I took Julia Roberts and I put her in a 6th harmonic. And you would have to take that and use your software to get to the 6th harmonic. And you put in the harmonic 6, and it brings up these numbers in the chart. So the 6th harmonic is balance and harmony and coordination. And with that, the Mercury here is that sextiles that sun, and the sun in the conjunct with the Mars. So the circuit is communicating with vitality, drive, and working together. So with Julia Roberts in that 6th harmonic, her Mercury, Sun, and Mars form a green circuit, which Mercury gives that communication, the sun brings that vitality, and Mars drives action. So in the 6th, now we're in the 6th harmonic, it emphasizes more on balance and coordination. So this circuit shows her ability to express herself with energy and confidence, and aligning through identity and her drive, because we're in the 6th harmonic. And then we look at here, I put it in the 3rd harmonic. So Julia Roberts, Saturn, Uranus is in a quincunx. So I found this quincunx, this brown line here. And Julia Roberts has that V12, we call it vibration 12, which more is that closure, completion, that integration. It's more of that Saturn structure is more here. We have that Saturn here, right? We're just going to look at Saturn. Saturn has structure. It's essential. It's discipline. It wants to get down to the essential, what's going to last. And Uranus is more of that spontaneous. It's in that moment, it has breakthroughs. Well, in that 12, we have this restless tension seeking closure between Saturn and that which is wanting to get down to the essentials, what's going to last, and Uranus, which is that spontaneity. And so this theme is a push to resolve an unfinished cycle, integrating discipline with spontaneous change. So here, Julia Roberts, with this, I would ask this question to her. I would ask Julia, I said, do you feel pulled between steady structure and living spontaneously in a moment, as if you were driven to find resolution between the two? So that'd be a question I would ask, because I couldn't answer this myself. It's a question only she would know. So that's how you work with your client on your quincunxes, or with a chart on the quincunx. You would ask the question. So with Julia Roberts, is another quincunx here we have in the 3rd. That was a Mercury-Mars tension. Conversation. Was there some business? Oh, so here was a Mercury-Mars quincunx. So the tension was between the communication and connection and the drive action. So here it creates a restless push against, right? Completing and finalizing through words and action. So here it's her words, Mercury, and her action, Mars. So communicating, charged with drive and seeking closure. So the question was, do you often feel a need to push conversations or actions towards resolutions, as unfinished business must be completed? So it's more, does she push her conversations for actions? And then we look at research. Okay, so with vibrational astrology, it's always this evidence, consistency, and reliability. So based on thousands of charts, patterns must repeat consistently. Non-repeating patterns are discarded. Evidence supports reliability, observation, testing, validation. So vibration astrology is built on extensive research using thousands of charts, clients and consultations, and statistical studies, and patterns is considered meaningfully only when repeats consistently across many individuals' charts. If a pattern cannot be replicated, it is not retained without that system. So they use many charts and over. There's Linda Berry has a group that meets, and Santino has another group that meets, and then they all meet together, and they do research on charts. And they research vibrations. So this is consistently ongoing research continually. So research and recap. So the foundation of vibration. So again, thousands of charts, patterns must repeat, and so anything that's invalid gets discarded. And vibration is the research. Thousands of charts have been analyzed, and we only use repeating patterns are kept, and patterns that don't repeat are discarded. And it just over again of the recap that we have to have reliability. And then we have the basics of harmonics. This is a recap on this. We have the harmonics of waves explaining relationships. Planets relate through harmonic frequencies. We have exact aspects and planets required. We have to have 3, except when we're looking at that quincunx, right? And that's something we don't know. We have to ask. So the exact 3 we are required, and we know something there. So because the energy is flowing, and we have function, and there's not a personality. We measure the flow of the energy between the planets and the function, not the personality traits or the character. So the focus is on observation, being observed in outcomes, and VA identifies patterns that repeat in real world effects and people actually do. So there's just like any other testing, they observe, they test, they confirm, they repeat, and they have results. Again, go over repeating their research, observation methods, and evidence that we do over and over in vibrational astrology. And we have a research example here with astrology of bipolar disorder when scientific breakthrough. I don't know if any of you have heard of David Cochran. When he wrote the book, it was David Cochran. Now he goes by Santino, but this is one of his books. It's called Bipolar Disorder: A Scientific Breakthrough. It was exploring recurring astrological patterns through research and statistical analyzing. So the research he took patterns he repeated. So he examined birth charts, data, and investigated whether the particular astrological harmonic pattern appeared repeatedly among individuals in the study group. And statistically testing recurring configurations were evaluated using statistical methods and determined whether they appeared more frequently than more, and they would be expected by chance. So vibration 7 was a research example. So Cochrane had discussed Saturn participating in this 7 vibration planetary configuration as one of the examples examined in the connection with this research. But this is only one of the vibrations. There are others. So there are larger sample testings as the research began with a smaller clinical group. The model was subsequently applied to larger group, approximately 700, but I believe there's more. I think there's like 932 of individuals with bipolar disorder refined the proposed formula. So did a lot of testing to find out that this works. So why does this matter? This work demonstrates the vibrational astrology research approach, identifying patterns, defining vibrations, planetary circuits, testing across many charts, and evaluating results statistically. So again, human vibrational astrology is astrological research, not clinical diagnosing. So it's just research that is done here. So this research that presents an example of astrological patterns, analyzes the research's methodology, and is not medical or psychiatric diagnostic tool and should not be used to diagnose bipolar or any other medical psychiatric condition. It's just only for research. So with research, as I mentioned, they collaborate. As I mentioned, they get together in teams and they work together. So these teams analyze data. And some of these teams meet weekly. They meet weekly, and this is what they just dive into the research. These teams analyze data, research, work together. They examine charts, identify patterns, and then the software enables mass testing. Software allows thousands of charts and can be tested quickly and accurately. And then they multiply confirmations, and patterns must be confirmed and independent multiple research. So the research is vibration is a collaborative, to many astrologers getting together and confirming. They all work in different areas. One might be working on a vibration. Some are working on, just the charts, searching and finding charts. There's all different avenues that you can get into the research part of this. And so what we learned, you learned about planets and simple functions, and harmonics are hidden layers. And there's need 3 planet energy flow and circuits flow patterns, and evidence is repeatable, right? So the next step in vibrational astrology is to go beyond the basics and explore higher harmonics, like the 5th, 7th, and 9th, and we see subtle dynamics through each examples. As we did show in Julia Roberts, I showed that 6th vibration. So see here the subtle dynamic through each case example and client's chart. So join collaborative research, and vibration grows through sharing, testing, and results. So in vibrational astrology, the next step is exploring the higher harmonics, the 5th, 7th, 9th, and so on. I mean, we got 750 to 1,000. So case studies are collaborative, and research continues to move forward. Now, there's another gentleman who researched more of the Dominic. He did 8, 9, 5, and 7 during this interview. And so with closing, so these harmonics reveal hidden patterns in the circuits, and vibrational astrology shows us that planets are functions, and harmonics reveal hidden patterns. And the most important, research makes BA reliable and repeatable. So I want to thank you for being here today, and just letting you know a little bit about vibrational astrology and how it grows. I think I have another one here. So I wanted to show you here. This is the vibrational astrology study guide. So I don't know if you are familiar with any of the books that are for vibrational astrology. These are the study guides. There's module 1, there's module 2 and module 3, and then a addendum that they just came out with. And then again, David Cochran has several different books on vibrational astrology. And with Linda Berry and with Faye Cochran. And so if you'd like to learn more about vibrational astrology, myself and Michelle Marie from Australia, Michelle Marie, she studied with David Cochran Santino. I studied with Linda Berry. We joined together, and we have this 4-part series that we're going to be doing to introduce astrology. It's going to be, the first one's going to be discovering vibrational astrology. It's going to be an introduction to how vibrational astrology reveals patterns with a natal chart through vibrational aspects and planetary circuits. And attendees will explore what makes the vibrational approach different and how it adds other dimensions in charts interpretation. So it'll be the both of us doing this, and we'll give this discovery of vibrational astrology. And then the next one that we'll put together here would be when the planets speak together. So then we'll look at the introduction to how these combinations of these planets create meaningful patterns, and using simple 3-planet circuits. Attendees will see how planetary combinations are interpreted in vibrational astrology. So we'll do a little bit of interpretation on the second time. And then we'll look at go beyond that, and we're going to go beyond the traditional aspects, And we're going to introduce how vibrational astrology moves beyond the familiar conjunctions, squares, and oppositions to explore subtle patterns through different vibrational families. We'll look at vibrational families here. And then we'll go further on. We're going to do the hidden geometry of the chart. We're going to do some introduction to some midpoints and resonance and angular relationships, and demonstrate how these mathematical relationships reveal connections that may not be immediately apparent at a traditional chart. So these are, we do have coming up, the convention in Chicago. So we've been kind of set back putting the September one out, but we definitely will be looking at in October, November, December. And then we're hoping to get these done before the beginning of next year, because myself and Michelle will have at Astro College a course in vibrational astrology. So if anyone's interested in looking at that, but here this will give you a good format if you joined in at these 4 that we'll be presenting. And if you have, that's all I have, so I can stop my share. And if you have any questions, what do you think about it? It's totally a lot to digest if you're a traditional astrologer. The wording of the planets, some of them are pretty familiar, but you're really not taking in you're not taking in the zodiac signs and how that plays out. All the houses, we don't work with the houses until you get to compatibility. So you just don't work with houses and zodiac signs. So do you have any questions?
Actually, I do have one question. It's really more of a confirmation because you answered all of my questions along the way, which is great. This is Melody Ann, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
So I want to just confirm that this is planet to planet. No angles, no nodes. This is planet to planet.
Planet to planet. No angles, no nodes.
Good. Okay. Because a lot of people that I work with want to stick in the nodes and the angles and, okay. So yes.
When you get further on, you'll get to the nodes, but the nodes are not going to be, we don't use angles and we don't use the nodes as angles or any of that. The nodes, we can get to nodes, or you're going to learn the language of the nodes, but that's not going to be it's beyond the basics, way beyond the basics.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All right. And I hope you can join Michelle, Marie, and I when we do these 4 sections. Luke should be putting them up. I don't know. It's probably going to be after the convention because it's just crazy right now because Luke's actually going to the convention now. So it's just crazy times. But it was a pleasure to have you here, Melanie. I'm sure Luke will get this up if you want to rewatch it and look at the presentation. And I enjoyed having you here this evening.
Thank you. This was a great introduction to this topic for me.
Well, thank you, and you have a great evening.
Thank you so much. This was very interesting.
Oh, thank you, Sylvia. I almost forgot that you were here. I knew there was.
I'm here. I'm the quiet one. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you. You take care now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.